Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery gush for Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you haven't read this book, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review, which we linked on the screen. So first off, I just adore how this book even started out. I listened to the audiobook, like I mentioned in my review, and I love and recommend the audiobook to like everybody because it's so good. But you start on a series with a little girl getting hanged, and you think that you are gonna follow that kid, and then you find out that she dies. And it's just like, all right, here we go. Setting it off really from the get-go with that grimdark. But I really enjoyed following all these characters, following Nona and her being this kind of like unlikable, stubborn, angry protagonist. I love my stubborn, angry protagonist. I love that her anger is the root of a lot of her power and where she taps into that power, and that her anger is usually stemmed from injustice against people that she loves and her friends. She is so pure, but she doesn't think she's pure, but she's pure. She's a cinnamon roll that could kill you. It's great. As soon as it was like magical nun boarding school for assassins, it was like, I am so on board with everything about this. I loved all the teachers. I think Apple is probably my favorite because she's a poisoner. She's a rogue type character. Mistress Shade. She poisons the students, but is also kind of nice to them sometimes. Like, what? And she's in a relationship with Kettle, who's a sweet, pure bean. And just like, I love everything about them. But Abbas Glass is also so good. Like, so good. Like, a very kind of like female dark Dumbledore who's even more conniving than he was. And just like, so strong in her convictions. The woman has so much sass when faced with her death. She pulls at all these strings because she knows all these people, and she's like, the name Glass means something. It's just like, you're so great. And her hand is being burned. You have that scene where like her hand is being burned and it's like dripping flesh and all, like so gross. And she's still like, I am not backing down, motherfucker. It's great because that priest guy was a douche, and she like did all these things to kind of undo him, and she's using a prophecy that she knows is false to undo everything, and that's interesting, and just like kind of like controlling all those pieces. And I really enjoyed, and I didn't mention this in my review and I should have, but I really enjoyed that Nona was not a chosen one character. Because in other series, she might have been. And even Arabella isn't a chosen one, and Zol isn't necessarily a chosen one, but and they're all wrapped up in this like political scheme and this false prophecy, and they all, like, some of them know that and some of them don't, and like the shield and all this stuff, and like all of those characters in other series could be chosen ones, and they're not. And it's so cool. But they're also like really badass. Like, they're badass in their own right, not just because like, you're chosen, you're a Quantal, you're Three Blood, you're whatever. You know, like, they have all these abilities, but like, and they're special, but they're special in their own way, and not because of like, oh, you are part of this like great scheme or whatever. They're part of a scheme, but it's not a part of a like prophecy scheme. I also really enjoyed the focus on female friendship specifically, but friendship in general. Nona doing things because of her deep devotion to friendship and loyalty means so much to me, because she's definitely this like anti-hero type character, but she's so, that conviction that she has for her friends and for defending the helpless, especially because she has like Saida and then Hessa, who are kind of these like more helpless, sweet characters. And I mean, Hessa's less helpless because she has a path, but like all of that, oh, means so much to me. And I love that like her and Arabella became friends, even though Clara like tried to make that not happen. And her and Hessa are friends, and her and Hessa had that like thread bond kind of thing going on. And is Hessa dead? I hope that she's not, but I think she is, and that's just like so sad. And like the moment before the test, the shield test, when Hessa was like, you're my friend, like of course I'd help you, and Nona's like, I started crying. Like, it was just so good. And then she formed a friendship with Arabella and realized that she wasn't just this like snotty princess, because you had that trope at the beginning where you're like, okay, she's just gonna be this like snotty, spoiled princess. And she's not, and she's a very sweet, and she even says at one point that she has like a crush on her, which is just adorable. And then you even have Clara, who's like kind of probably the most unlikable of the group, but you still sort of pull for their friendship, and you have her betraying them in the present and then in the future potentially, and like what does that dynamic mean, and that like Nona needed to see her betraying them to really get it, but she still wouldn't kill her, and like all of that stuff just warms my heart. I love it, and I'm really excited for the rest of the series and like how that plays out with them all as like adults. Give it to me. And yeah, some of the stuff about the magic is confusing, like the ship hearts and what that all means, and like how the path works exactly, and her magical blades that are sort of this like manifestation of her anger, but also are like a defense mechanism that only a few people are able to develop, and all of this stuff, like it's so cool. Her blades cut shadow. So cool. And I just went with it. Like, I know some people can't and they're like, this magic system makes no sense to me. I am fine with it. I just go with it. I think it's fun and it's out there and it works for this kind of world that is very just like dreary and awful in a lot of ways, and I am 100% here for it. I am surprised that she ended up killing Taxus in the end. Raymel Taxus, I think is his name. I'm surprised that she ended up killing him in the end, because I thought that was going to be a longer, drawn-out thing, but that also makes me excited for, like, the ramifications of that and, like, what that means for the rest of the series and her as an adult and all this stuff. But she has, like, these, like, black eyes now from the, like, you know, black cure or whatever, which is so great. And you have her, like, killing a devil-infested dude because the devils were, like, keeping him alive because he was brought back from, like, in a bad way. Kind of reminds me of that character from Game of Thrones, that mountain dude. He was very much like that, and it's just like, oh, gross. And she killed him, and I'm kind of glad because I didn't want that to necessarily be drawn out through a whole series, but I'm also like, what happens now? But either way, I can't wait for the rest of the series. Like, what happens with, like, the politics in the world? What's going on with these ship hearts? What's gonna happen to Nona? She's, like, feared by all these people. She goes on the battlefield, and they're like, nah. Never mind. And like her and Arabella are obviously still teamed up. Arabella may or may not be dying, but I don't think that she's going to. She's pulling Claire back into the fold, but maybe not. Like, what is happening? I must know. So comment below, let me know what you thought of Red Sister. I hope you loved it as much as I did. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon.